Hey guys, now we're going to be doing our last video of our lesson, but before we get into that, to go ahead and check your work for C, D for 4, and then 5A, B, and C. In 5, as I mentioned, we were ordering the angles instead of the sides, so the side-angle conjecture works the same way. But getting into what we're going to be covering new for this lesson, we're going to be looking at the different types of triangles, isosceles, equilateral, and being able to use those to identify missing information. So in an isosceles triangle is where it has two things. One, two sides are congruent, or two sides are the same measure. Put it down here, same measure. And the way we mark that normally for triangles is just by putting this line here. So wherever you see whatever sides have that line means that they are the same measure. And then also, let me change back here, secondly, it also has two angles that are congruent. Didn't go over here, oh well. Or again, two angles that are the same measure. And much like with the sides, whenever we have angles that are the same measure, you just kind of put this little arc in there, denoting that those are the same. Kind of got a little angry face going on in that triangle. But so that's how you denote that. And you may get into different things later on where you have like two different lines, because then you have bigger shapes that are the same, that are congruent, different things like that. But now going to an equilateral triangle, as in the name it says equal, so what this means is that all sides and angles are congruent. If I can spell, you guys know me, can't spell. I'll just start over. All sides and angles are congruent. And basically what that means is that all angles are 60 degrees. Because if we remember back, what was the total sum of the angles of a triangle? It was 180, and if all three of these angles are congruent, the only number that adds together 3 times to get 180 is 60. And then all sides are congruent, so all sides will have the little line on there. Okay, so now knowing that information, let's go ahead and try to apply these to a few problems. So let's change back. Let's go blue. I haven't used that yet. So if we look at A, we see that there's 1 line, 2 line, 3 lines. So those are all denoting that those 3 sides are congruent. And we previously learned that if all the sides are congruent, then it's equilateral. So this is an equilateral triangle. Equilateral. And then in an equilateral triangle, all angles are 60 degrees. So we see here that this is 60, so that means x must be 60 degrees as well. So let's put x equals 60 degrees. Alright, and now looking at this next one, now we see that two sides are congruent, so that means that we have an isosceles triangle. Probably one of the hardest part is remembering what these names are. But so with this, our definition of isosceles was that two sides are congruent and then two angles are as well. So with these base angles is what we'll call them, those two are congruent. So that one is x, then we can also write in that that one is x as well. So if we just write this in an expression like we did earlier, we're going to have 30, because that's the measure of one angle, plus x is all equal to what the sum of all the angles of a triangle, which is 180. So we have 30 plus 2x is equal to 180. Now we need to solve for x. So we need to get that 30 over, so we subtract 30, got to get colorful here. So then we'd be left with 2x is equal to 180 minus 30 gives us 150. But now we want to just solve for x by itself. So 2x is being multiplied by 2, so to do multiplication we need to divide. So we divide by 2, divide by 2. So then we come up at the end that x is equal to 150 divided by 2 is 750. And then we put degrees. So in this one, x is equal to 750 degrees. Okay, let's see here. Let's look at D real quick before I let you go work on your own. So on A and B, we found what the angles were, but now this is asking us for a side. And we see here that we have two angles that are congruent. So in having those two angles that are congruent tells us that this is isosceles. And in the isosceles triangle, where we have the two congruent angles, those each are facing the sides that are congruent. So because if we remember to our side-angle conjecture that the measure of the angle means which side is bigger. So if this angle right here is the same as this angle, that means that this side must be the same as this side. So we know that x on this one would be equal to 11. Alright guys, so go ahead, I'll leave you to do C, E, and F. See if you can figure those guys out. I will post the filled out notes for this lesson on my website, and that way you can check your answers on there. Alright, thanks guys. If you do have any questions, please comment on the classroom, on Canvas. Ask those, check out the other videos on my website, and best of luck.